Welcome back to Hannity. A brand new book is exposing some very disturbing new details about the Clintons. Guilty as Sin by Ed Klein is out in bookstores tomorrow. Ed joins us now, along with the author of Putin's Master Plan, former Clinton pollster, Fox News contributor Doug Schoen. By the way, they just released this statement, let's see, about Ed Klein's writings have been shunned by all but the extreme fringes of the internet, and anyone who claims to be a legitimate media outlet should be ashamed to report it. By the way, is this like calling Monica Lewinsky a narcissistic Looney Tune?
Right.
The same thing? Or drag a dollar bill through a trailer park? It's kind of the same, right?
If they had any real proof that this was wrong, they should bring the people forward and say, no, I didn't tell Klein that. But they never, ever do that. All they do is throw mud at you.
But your background as a real reporter, you were the
I was the
managing
editor-in-chief of the New York Times Magazine, the foreign editor of Newsweek.
What happened to you? I mean, you became normal. You grew out of that liberalism, I guess. All right, but that's what they always do. So they release a statement. They trash you. They trash the book. A rambling news screed in line with the rest of his work is discredited fiction. Okay, that's what they do. But that's what they've also done to all these women.
That's right.
And you talk about he's not changed. You're talking about interns at the Clinton Library in Arkansas giving him foot massages?
20-some-year-old interns, like Monica was 20-some years old, right?
Yeah.
Giving him foot massages in his penthouse apartment in Little Rock.
Does Hillary know about this?
You know, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And I've interviewed these women who did it.
You did?
Yes. And they're proud of it.
Yeah, you did mention that. They say, you know, oh, I get to do it to a president.
Touching the president is very thrilling, is what they say.
Well, what is your take on this?
My take is the more discussion there is of the Clintons' personal life, the better it is for their election campaign.
Well, why do you I know you've said that to me before, but why do you believe that?
Here's why I believe it. The issues in this country work to the advantage of Donald Trump. The more that the dialogue is about Hillary or Bill Clinton's peccadillos, the more Trump doubles down, the more he doesn't talk about the economy. He doesn't talk about the big issue of the day, which is our absolute failure in Syria and the failure of Obamacare.
But these are legitimate issues. One of the big issues you deal with in the book, Ed, has to do with Hillary's health, and it's far worse than what we know. And that, for example, you think first of all, you confirm she has arrhythmia?
Arrhythmia.
And a bad valve, heart valve?
She has a heart valve problem that the doctors wanted to replace the heart valve, and she didn't do it because she was afraid that it would leak out. And she's got clotting problems. She's got
we know
all
that
kinds
she's on
of
lifetime Coumadin and an anticoagulant, but wait a minute. If she has a bad valve, any good doctor is going to say you've got to replace it.
They did, and she said no because she was worried that if she had, it would leak out, that she had a surgery, and that would somehow undercut her
in the book,
presidential
you also talk
race.
about her going and having privacy within a New York hospital. Like they sneak her in the back, underneath, I guess underneath the hospital to a private area.
They do that for a checkup, yes.
Okay. But here's the thing. When Donald Trump mimics her falling down and trivializes, in a certain sense, the serious issues that are getting raised, all that happens is we lose focus on change, corruption, and the need for a new direction, which are his issues and his themes.
You know, look, I do think Ed's work is important, because especially because he's reporting and he's giving his sources, and I know anyone in the liberal left media is going to hate him and try and discredit him, and they'll still, didn't your last book topple Hillary's #1 on the New York Times? So it had to sell twice as much as her.
Knocked her off the top.
But Ed's selling books. Donald Trump's trying to be president. Trying to be president. Different goals, different responsibilities.
You see, I agree with you. I think it's got to be substance. She'll raise your taxes, I'll cut your taxes. Obamacare will be repealed or you keep it.
Right.
You're going to vet refugees or not. You're going to say radical Islam or not. You're going to become energy independent or not. You'll secure the border or not. There's such deep and profound differences.
Sean, if you just take those lines, transport them to Donald Trump, and he says them for the next 35 days.
Just that. She'll do this, I'll do that.
Right. That's better than anything Donald Trump has done on the campaign trail in the last 10 days.
I'd also tell him to talk about the worst recovery since the 40s, lowest labor participation in the 70s, 12 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty,
look, if
doubling of the debt.
Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, and Kellyanne Conway are watching this segment, they should memorize what you've said, because it's the most important thing they could bring.
Well, you know nobody listens to me. You know that, right?
Sean, a lot of people listen to you.
We all listen to you,
We all do.
Do you agree from the political sense Doug's right? Because I actually think he's right.
I think he's right up to a point, but the fact that she is so corrupt, and
that's important.
Everyone understands that she's corrupt. And that is not a small matter.
Where is the narrative?
I'll give it to you. All right, for example, she attacks him in the next debate.
She's attacked him today.
Okay, but in the next debate, when they're side by side, and he should turn and say, let's say she brings up his taxes or tax returns or what he said 20 years ago about a woman. All right, I just turn to her and say, Hillary, I know you want to go down in the gutter and talk about those things because you don't want to remind the American people you left 4 brave Americans to hanging out to dry in Benghazi. If I'm president, I wouldn't do that.
Right, and we heard nothing like that in the first debate.
That's called a pivot.
Nothing since then. No pivots. Doubles down on Machado. Attacks Bill and Hillary.
I agree. That was dumb.
It's all been a mistake.
That was dumb.
And someone ought to say to Donald Trump, you're blowing the election.
Curiel, Kahn, Machado, done. Out. Agreed. What do you think?
I think he's right. I think he's right, but I also think she's a very vulnerable candidate. And I think he needs to continue, in addition to what Doug is saying, remind everybody this is a corrupt woman because the American public understands.
I think they all know
corrupt.
she's corrupt and dishonest and a liar and untruthful. And by the way, her policies are bad. It's basically doubling down on stupid, which is Obama's policies
for
the last 8 years.
What will we have if she's in the White House?
Yeah.
More scandals, more corruption.
You're right.
And you'll have a less good quality of life. That is the key issue
for the
American
you're talking
people.
about.
That's
change and corruption.
Correct.
All right, got it. All right.